Seventh grade gym class, and Mr. Tyler rolls a record player on a cart to the center of the floor. Not a boombox, not a cassette player, a record player on a cart with an orange extension cord stretched halfway across the gymnasium. At this point in the school year, we had already survived the rope climb, the stretch and reach test, and that test where you had to do forward rolls on a mat that smelled like 30 years of other kids. We thought we'd seen everything the gym class had to throw at us. We had not. He drops the needle on the record and a voice comes out of the speakers, flat, nasal, slightly muffled, like it was recorded in someone's garage in 1959. And he says, "All right, everyone, find a partner." And every kid in that gymnasium immediately understood that something bad was about to happen to them. Here's the thing about 7th grade. 7th grade is genuinely the worst possible age to be told to find a partner for anything. You're 12, maybe 13. You're basically just this awkward creature just trying to survive, and the last thing on earth you want to do is walk across the gym floor and ask someone to dance with you. Not square dance, not any dance, nothing. So I walk across the floor and find this shy girl. She's looking at her feet. I'm just as shy. We don't even make eye contact, and I ask her to dance. I remember exactly where I was standing when that record started, and I remember thinking pretty clearly, why are we doing this? Not as a big philosophical question, just a practical one. Why are we square dancing? Why in gym class? Why in 1982? No one ever questioned it. The teacher just kept dropping the needle on that record, and we kept do-si-doing across the gym floor while the kids on the bleachers watched and felt relieved it wasn't their turn yet. 2 weeks, that was a standard. Long enough to be genuinely miserable, not long enough to get any good at it. And then one day it was just over. We went back to dodgeball and never talked about it again. That question I had in 7th grade, though, why are we doing this? It turns out it has an answer. And it goes a lot further back than gym class. So here's where this gets interesting. Henry Ford, the car guy, the Model T guy, the assembly line guy, he also ran a newspaper out of Dearborn, Michigan. And starting around 1920, that newspaper basically declared a war on jazz music. Ford thought jazz was corrupting American kids. He hated it. And when Henry Ford hated something, he had enough money to actually do something about it. So his answer was square dancing. By 1923, he was already moving in on it. He hired a dance instructor named Benjamin Lovett, moved him to Dearborn, and put him to work in the public schools. He published a dance manual and made his own factory workers go to square dance events. He put loudspeakers in Ford dealerships across the country so people could come in off the street and dance. He sponsored fiddle contests, radio broadcasts, the whole thing. And it worked. By 1928, square dancing was in roughly half of all American schools. That's how fast one guy's obsession moved through an entire school system when that guy happened to be Henry Ford. Then along came a school superintendent from Colorado Springs named Lloyd Shaw. Shaw published a book in 1939 called Cowboy Dances that basically became the instruction manual for the whole thing. He trained teachers and callers all over the country. And in 1949, the American Academy of Physical Education officially put their stamp of approval on his program. Once it's in the curriculum standards, it just kind of sits there forever. Teachers don't question it. They just do it because the teacher before them did it. You just put the needle on the record and you run the unit. The Cold War helped to keep it going, too. There was this whole post-war idea that square dancing was wholesome, patriotic, traditionally American. 31 states eventually named it their official state dance. Congress tried to make it the national dance more than 30 times. So that record player on that cart in your gym, that was the end of a chain that started with Henry Ford being furious about jazz music in 1920. Now here's the whole irony, and it really got me when I found out about it. Henry Ford's whole pitch was that square dancing was pure, traditional, authentically American. That was the entire point of pushing it. That was the argument. Except it wasn't really true. The thing that makes square dancing, the collar, the voice shouting at the moves while everyone dancing, that wasn't some old European tradition. That was an African American innovation. Enslaved musicians who played at plantation dances started calling out the steps while they played it. It was a call and response thing rooted in African musical tradition, and it caught on. So the defining feature of the whole dance form Ford was promoting as a symbol of white culture purity, that part was created by black Americans. And nobody in your gym class ever mentioned that part. Square dancing started disappearing from schools in the late 80s and into the 90s. PE classes shifted towards actual fitness stuff. And eventually the backstory on square dancing got out. There was an article in 2017 that went pretty viral, and a lot of people had basically the same reaction. Wait, that's why we did that? The orange extension cord, the record player on the cart. That voice telling you to find a partner while you're standing there in 7th grade just wanting to disappear. All of it goes back to one guy being angry about jazz music in 1920. Now you know.